Next time an opportunity arises, you know you will be better. Have faith in yourself. Back yourself. You don't have to live in the past and keep beating yourself up. That is suffering. Welcome to Trujectory, the podcast committed to helping you align with who you really are, your true self. The one who is so comfortable with their uniqueness, so in love with life, and so effortlessly able to manifest everything they always dreamt of. I want this podcast to be a resource to help you jump into the driver's seat rather than continuing as a passenger in your own story. Let's understand why we choose to hold ourselves back so we can shed the lies that we've programmed into our minds. We can heal the root causes and step into the epic human that we know we can be. If you're ready to start aligning with your trajectory, let's do it. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to talk about suffering. It sounds very intense, doesn't it? But we're going to talk about what it is, why we do it, and how to stop, how to start taking some action towards not doing it so much anymore. Because it's not working with us, it's definitely working against us. And we do it subconsciously a lot of the time. We're not even aware that we are the ones that are choosing to suffer constantly. So, for starters, what is suffering? Suffering is prolonged pain, something that is chronic and continuous. It's not just a one day of pain, whether that's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever you want to look at. Suffering is a continuous state, whether it's I'm continuously feeling like I'm in lack, I'm continuously feeling like I'm not worthy, continuously hating on myself, or I'm continuously having so many horrible experiences in my life, which then amplifies my need to feel like I'm suffering, and all these fun little things that we do to ourselves as humans. It sounds harsh, but we are choosing it for ourselves. So we need to step up and stop choosing suffering. That's the key here, but we'll get to that. So why do we do it? A lot of the time, this is something that's been programmed into us. When we're young, up until the age of 7, we're pretty much just a sponge. So if you've been surrounded, if your family of origin were of the mentality of lack, suffering, woe is me, the world is so hard, everything's so tough, I'm always in pain, I've always got something wrong with me, then that's what was soaked into you, into your conscious, into the way that you think, into your subconscious, sorry. The subconscious mind is an absolute beast. It is holding so many things. There's something like 2 million bits of information coming into each eye every second. And there's only 134 of those bits that can actually be held onto by the conscious mind. But the subconscious mind is taking in every single little bit of information. And that could be anything from sounds, smells, sight, words, everything that you can imagine, all types of information. So if you were surrounded by this when you were younger, chances are you're going to be pretty good. You're going to be really well trained in the art of suffering. And that's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. Even the people who were around you who were modeling that example, it's not their fault either. They're doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have at the time, right? Everyone is really just doing the best they can. But if we don't understand the impact that our words and our thoughts and our emotions are having on us, and we don't understand that we're the ones choosing them and perpetuating the cycle continuously, then how are we ever going to stop? So this is the part where we start to slow down and look at the patterns that we've built up, look at the ways that our thought processes fall into the same rhythm. Maybe they start as a positive and maybe they very quickly go into a negative. A lot of people have this thing where if something really good happens to them, they instantly assume or expect that something really horrible is going to happen because they don't believe that they're worthy to have something so good happening to them in their life. And that is tragic, isn't it? We don't have to live that way. Oh man, so much work to do. But guess what? It's fun. Working on yourself is fun. It doesn't have to be this big, oh my God, there's so much to do. It's, wow, you're having revelations every day. You're going, oh my gosh, I've been thinking that way my whole life, and that's been leading to this circumstance and this outcome, and these connections and all these people I've brought into my life are all of that same mindset because that's what I was resonating at and that's what I was drawing into my reality. Oh my gosh, now I'm going to start looking at it and changing it. So the key to stop suffering Sounds so simple, but again, it is a bit of a practice. When I say a bit, it's a lot. It's work. It's something that you need to work at every day. And just like any other habit, it will get easier over time. But the key to stop suffering is to be present, is to practice presence, the art of presence. It is a game changer. It is absolutely a game changer. When you think about your day to day, right? Whatever it is you're doing, you wake up in the morning, you're doing some cleaning, you're looking after the kids, you're packing lunches, you're doing a workout, whatever it is. Where is your mind? Where are your thoughts? Are they on the action that you are doing? Are they 100% involved? Just say you're making some sandwiches. Is your mind completely engrossed in that action? Or is there a chance that your mind is wandering because you sort of have this action down pat? You know that you can go into autopilot and you'll get those sandwiches made and you don't have to think about every step of the way. So you let your mind go to what's happening at work today, what happened yesterday, that was an awkward conversation with my boss or with my employee, or what's happening with my life, or what's happening in my relationships, or what do I need to eat later? What am I going to eat today? I'm coming up with the most horrible examples, but anything. Your mind wanders so much, so quickly. Before we're even aware of it, it's gone. It's gone wandering off. It's not here doing the thing that you are doing. It's not in the moment. It's not present. And when you think about suffering comes from worrying, reminiscing, regretting all of the things that have happened in the past, looking back going, I should have done this better, or I could have stepped up there, or this person hurt me and I'm going to think about that conversation over and over again and try to fix it in my mind because that's going to make it better. It's never going to make it better, right? And deep down we all know these things, but it's time for a reminder, because a lot of us are constantly in that loop of thinking about our past. There are elements of healthy look backs. You can look back at your history, you can look back at the things you've done to gain some better perspective, to bring into the present moment, to then act in a different way. Obviously, you've had your past, you've learned a lot of lessons. It's not like you have to forget it all completely, but you don't need to keep living there. And it is such a common habit that we all fall into. We really genuinely think that we can think ourselves out of a situation. And that just is never the case. It's never the case. You're just adding more and more energy and focus and intention into that situation that's already occurred. So instead of giving your energy and all of your life force into the moment and into what you're focusing and doing now, you're giving all of your energy to something that's already passed, that you can't change, you can't fix. You can, in the present moment, understand that something negative happened in the past, and you're choosing in this present moment to no longer act in line with that, or to just say you spoke down to someone and you're beating yourself up about that and you wish you hadn't spoken down to them in a certain manner. Well, that's okay. You've taken that lesson, take it on board, integrate it, and okay, accept that. Next time an opportunity arises to either speak to that person or to speak to someone else in a similar situation, you know you will be better. Have faith in yourself. Back yourself. You don't have to live in the past and keep beating yourself up. That is suffering. Suffering comes in so many different shapes and sizes, but it's something that we do to ourselves, and it's something I need you to keep remembering, because when you realize that you are doing it to yourself and you start to become aware of these patterns, and you will catch yourself thinking and living in the past. And when you catch yourself, that's when you're able to bring yourself back to the present moment. And it takes time, it takes practice. You're going to have to do it probably over 1,000 times in a day. That's probably an understatement, to be honest. These things happen in milliseconds. They're very quick actions. My thought is not here. Okay, bring it back. Okay, here I am. 2 seconds later, my thought is not here. Okay, bring it back. All right, here I am. So it is definitely a bit of a process, but that's where a lot of your suffering lives. The rest of your suffering lives in worrying about the future, having massive anxiety and a lack of trust in yourself, worrying about how you're going to get through this situation, worrying about all of the different elements of what's coming. And you can't control any of those things. Anything that you can control is here in the moment. So if you've got something big that's coming up that you're fearing, that you're worrying about, all you need to do is be present and let yourself, in the present moment, move closer and closer to that thing. You will get more and more clarity about how to do that thing, how to act a certain way, or how to perform a certain task or overcome a hurdle, whatever it might be. You will figure it out as you get closer to it. Because a lot of the time we're trying to fix our problems that are going to arise in the future. And by trying to fix it and preempt it in advance, we actually end up causing more problems. We put so many more ripples in the water and splash it all around a bit so that it's even more confusing. We try to control the situation so that we know that everything's going to be fine. But as soon as you try to control something, you're out of control. That's the reality of our nature. You need to be able to find the present moment so that you can accept that you need to just go with the flow. And that comes back to trusting yourself. Trusting that you will do the best you can with the tools, the knowledge, the abilities that you have at the time that you need to act. You don't need to act beforehand. A lot of the time, the fear that we create in our mind about a future event that hasn't happened yet is so much worse than what it actually is. So again, we're bringing all of this suffering into our present moment rather than just being here, being our true, authentic selves. So this is a big practice, right? This is something that you need to keep an eye on, and it can get very slippery. It can slip away from you very quickly, but even just listening to this podcast, being aware of this, it will start to show. You will start to see how often you are not here in the present moment. So a couple of practices that I did want to say as well, that in the present moment, of course, there can be pain. You might be in a situation where you're going through something very painful. It could be, the loss of a loved one. It could be physical pain. It could be an accident that you've been in, whatever the case. But there cannot be suffering. Suffering is a prolonged, extended, chronic version of pain. And when you are in pain, you bring it back to the present moment. You can find a sense of calm. You really can. It sounds crazy, but again, it just takes practice. But when you're going through something painful, find that present moment. If you are living in it constantly, if you start to practice this more regularly, it becomes second nature, and you'll find so many more incredible opportunities coming into your world. You will find that you start to understand your true self so much deeper, because you are allowing yourself to be here and be clear-minded. If you imagine it, I always imagine it like a visual of, imagine yourself standing in a body of water, like a lake or something like that, really still water. And what you're trying to achieve, the dreams that you have, the goals that you have, the things that you're moving towards, they're actually written on the sand beneath the water under your feet. All of the answers that you've been seeking for so long, they're right there. You're standing on them. You're standing around them. If you look down, you could read. However, every time you have a thought that isn't of the present moment, that isn't aligned with what you are doing at this current time, you send an electric spark out into the water and it starts to ripple. And what happens when it starts to ripple? You can't see through it anymore. It's not clear water. It's distorted. It's noisy. It's moving. It's constantly. You're trying to see through to these answers that are on the sand below, and you can't see anything. So you're getting more frustrated. And then you think about the past more when you've been frustrated before. And then you think about the future and you think you're going to bring your frustration into the future. It is, oh my gosh, we're hilarious as humans. We are truly, truly hilarious. We love to create so much unnecessary pain for ourselves. So try and use that visual if that helps. It definitely has helped me a lot of times. Meditation is, of course, a big helper. I'll talk about that in many other episodes. We'll get some meditation specialists on board to explain a lot more about that to us. But for now, a couple of tips for you to take away. So this is for when you are doing something and you realize that your thoughts are not present. You bring them back into the present, and then you need something to anchor them in, because otherwise it's going to be 2 milliseconds later and your thoughts are back in the past or back in the future. So tool number 1, it's called the box breath. It's very common. You might have already heard about this. Imagine a box, right? A square. So you can, if you're a visual person, you can actually visualize this in your mind when you're doing it, or you can just feel it. But the first side of the square, you're going to go up. That's an in-breath. Go up for 4 seconds, and then imagine like the square going along the top now. You're going to hold for 4 seconds. And then going down the side, the other side of the box, it's going to go breathe in again, and then hold. So you're just doing this pattern, this box pattern of in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. It's incredible how much of a difference that can make on your nervous system. You can feel all of your energy, all of your muscles, all of your tension calming down, and you start to find some inner peace. And when you get just a little glimpse of that, you start to realize how powerful presence really is, and how it can heal you, how it can show you the way. You can have all of the answers that you want if you are present and open to receive them. But if you are, you could be asking the universe, why aren't you giving me this? I want to know the answer to this. I want to know what to do here. I want to know that. It's very eager to talk to you. You've got a spirit team that are waiting to help you at any minute. But if you're completely overrun by thoughts, left, right, center, and you're not here, then you're not open. You're not present. You're not able to take in any information, any downloads. So that is tip number 1, is the box breath. Tip number 2 is, I have no name for it, so we'll call it 428. 428. As you can probably tell, it's got to do with the numbers. So 4, we're going to breathe in for 4. We're going to hold it for 2, and then breathe out for 8 counts. So that out breath is extremely extended. And that, oh my gosh, every time I do this breath, this particular exercise, it's just the quickest way for me to get back to center. And I feel so at peace and calm. So hopefully you have learnt something from this episode. There's something for you to take away. Box breath and 428. I'll come up with a better name for that at some point. And just remember, as shitty as it sounds to be reminded of, you are choosing this. You choose everything. Everything in your reality is a choice by you. Your thoughts create your reality. You are constantly manifesting things, whether you know it or not. Your subconscious mind is drawing to you what it is that you are resonating at. So if you're resonating in a state of suffering because you're not here, because you're in the past or you're in the future, and your vibration is resonating at a very low, dense level of suffering, pain, fear, lack, scarcity, that's what you're going to attract. I can tell you, I have been in both camps. I have had many years of being at a very high vibe before I even knew about any of this sort of stuff. I've had many, many years of being in a very low vibe. And even when I did start to understand spirituality, vibration, resonance, manifestation, all of these sorts of things, it still takes a while to reacclimate, to get your brain to slow down a little bit. You're so used to thinking. I've got a problem. I've got to think about it. What if I told you that you have a problem? Go and sit down in a quiet space. Do your breathing, whether it's the box breath or the 428 or something else that you've come up with for yourself. And be present, ask for guidance, and be open and willing to receive. You might be sitting there for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. You might be sitting there for half an hour. But for one thing, you're going to be very calm. It's going to be very healing on your system. And you will hear some answers. They will come to you if you are willing to stop the thinking. You can't think yourself out of a situation. You just can't. That's usually what got you in shit in the first place. So anyways, I hope that's helped, guys. Give me a DM, hit me up on socials if you have any topics in particular that you want me to discuss, or you have any experiences that you want some advice on, or anything like that. I'd love to hear from you, and I want to see us all stepping into who we really are. And presence is one of the top ways that we do it. It is an absolute game changer. it teaches you patience, and it shows you what you really want and how to get there. It also calms all of the stress. No more stress. So anyway, for now, stay you, stay true. Love you. Mwah.